I think at last count we had avoided close to 41,000 metric tons. This is since inception. I think the biggest validation for us is it's being measured by a legitimate chain organization like yours. So it's not like it is our number. It is a number which can be validated by a proper process. I think in excess of 40,000 metric tons is what we have saved, which for us is a very, very big story. While focusing on profitability, I think that's a very interesting blend for us. Like you keep saying, profit with a purpose journey.
Welcome back for another episode of The Voice of Generation Climate, TVOGC. Today we have with us Dhruv Taneja, who's the co-founder and CEO of MatchLog. Container reuse, container optimization platform in business for the last 6 years now, and leading to a lot of decarbonization, particularly in our logistics industry. Dhruv, what a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks, Ani. Thanks for having me.
What was the story behind the inception of MatchLog? And what a cool name, by the way. You're literally in the matching business, right?
I think it was an original thought pattern. We are into matchback logistics. Why not take the first half of both the names? And that's how MatchLog came about. But yes, thanks for that, Ani. And how we came about the business, or how we kind of thought about the concept. Earlier, we were running India's largest container depot or container yard, which is still obviously functional, where we do close to 100,000 containers every single month. That company is a custodian for global shipping lines. And we store the containers once they come back from an import cycle and before they have to go for an export cycle. What we did was we kind of realized that, for example, if a loaded container is coming into Nhava Sheva and the factory is in Pune, the container goes to Pune, empties out the cargo in a factory in Pune. It comes back all the way empty to Nhava Sheva, which is a good, 100-150 kilometers from Pune. And a couple of days later, the same container goes back to Pune to a factory for filling export cargo. Because we were the custodian of these containers, we analyzed the data, for the past couple of years, and realized that there was a pattern emerging. And we said, then why can't we look at figuring out if we can match the container with an export booking in Pune itself, instead of it coming back to Nhava Sheva? And that's how the kind of genesis or the original idea came about of MatchLog.
So you're keeping containers in motion or filled, right? So your metric over here is utilization of the same container.
Yes.
And in doing that, it actually leads to so many things. It's cost saving, carbon saving, because you're driving less empty miles, right? Or empty kilometers. And yeah, that's good for business and good for the planet, right? So was it a sustainability first mission, or was it a cost first mission and then sustainability second?
To be honest, it was profit first. I think we started out obviously from a scalable, profitable venture. But I think like any other startup, as we navigated our journey, we realized that the carbon emission reduction started emerging as a very top, measurement in our KPI, in our dashboards. And that's when probably we reached out to Climes also. Yes. And that's how the collaboration started. But yes, that's, I think, probably a later conversation. Today, I think I written down that it's a profitable, sustainable business that we want to run. And wow, sustainability can be taken in both, a sustainable business and a sustainable version for the environment.
That's amazing. And I actually asked that question specifically because I knew your model is profit first and sustainability second. And that is the only model that can scale. It's the model that most businesses now have to adopt, right? Just climate first, profit be damned doesn't really work. Just profit, climate be damned also doesn't work.
True.
Profit with sustainability is the secret sauce that I think we all need to drive toward, right? Whether it's in logistics or any other industry too. Is there any model that you found particularly interesting globally? Doesn't have to be within logistics. Just some companies you admire that do this profit with purpose quite well.
I think, I'm sure there are a lot of companies who have this blend of profit with purpose. But, we, in a way, have a very myopic way of running the business. We look at how we are building out the model, and we don't get influenced by what's going on out there. I think a lot of people don't agree with the model we adopt, but I think it's gotten us pretty far by not benchmarking how others have built a profitable for purpose business. I think that's really, really helped for us. So I think to answer your question, we don't look around, good and bad. And I guess it's worked out for us because we're still around after 6 years.
Yeah.
And
No, I didn't mean competitor wise, I actually meant inspiration wise. You know, it can be
Like-
any company in any sector that you look up to and you're like, wow, I kind of like how they managed to pull this off. Profit with purpose for planet. Triple bottom line.
For me, it's, I mean, obviously the, Adani portfolio of companies, which are genuinely building some serious
Really?
profitable. So, yeah, I mean, the Adani Green, the solar businesses, I think I really, really admire the way they are, kind of proactively doing that for the environment while keeping a, hawkeye at the bottom line. I deeply respect that organization.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, triple bottom line, right? Like, I think that is the business not just of the future, but now of the present. And this is where we need to shine a light on companies that are being able to do it well. That the two are not disjoint from each other. They can be done in tandem. And how they can be done is two very creative ways. In fact, your model, it's in concept actually quite simple, and it's brilliant in how you've executed it. You're just eliminating wastage, right? And in doing that, you're cutting down on cost and on carbon. So yeah, like this, the simplicity of it is actually really cool. Can you talk about some of the numbers that you guys have achieved over the last 6 years? Kilometers avoided, carbon saved, and just overall the typical cost saving that would happen for one of your customers. It could be a 3PL company, which could be a shipping line.
See, I think, Ani, we see it, one of the biggest savings that we have done is the carbon avoidance. I think at last count, we had avoided close to 41,000 metric tons. This is since inception. I think the biggest validation for us is it's being measured by a legitimate organization like yours. So it's not like it is our number. It is a number which can be validated by a proper process. I think in excess of 40,000 metric tons is what we have saved, which for us is a very, very big story. While focusing on profitability, I think that's a very interesting blend for us. Like you keep saying, profit with a purpose journey.
Yes. So that cost saving shows up directly to your customers, right? Which could be the shipping line or the 3PL logistics company.
It's very interesting. Our model is a win-win for all the stakeholders in the container logistics space. I'll just break it down very quickly for you.
Yes, please.
Let's start with the transporter. Today, the transporter or the trucking company is our biggest customer, right? Because he stands to benefit the most if he has, return load for the container or the trailer, as we kind of break it up. So there is a way for him to make more bottom line by using MatchLog, where he can reuse the container. The driver drives less, or driver drives the same amount and makes more money. There's less wear and tear for the trailer because it's the same journey they do. Obviously, the carbon emission is a big point where it gets reduced because you're eliminating a dry run. For a port operator, you're getting less gate moves. That means there could be lower congestion at your terminal gates because the containers coming in and out of the country could reduce at a scale of MatchLog, probably in 10 to 15 months. I think the shipping line gets to sweat their asset quickly. Typically in India, turnaround average for a container is 35 to 40 days. When they use MatchLog or a transporter uses our platform, it comes down to about 3 to 4 days. So
Wow.
for the same asset, it's a brilliant story. And initially, just a side note, when we started, when the container came back to the port in 3 days, the port operator said, no, it's not possible. It must be an out move and not an in move. And we're like, no, it's gone out. It's gone to the factory. It's emptied its stuff. It's loaded and export and come back. So people were taken by surprise initially, but now I think we would like it to become the new normal, where it's like Bisleri for water. It's like MatchLog for container reuse.
Wow. What a line. I really like that. By the way, the naming of your products and all is very innovative. Whoever does that, props to them. Like one of your products is called STinder, right? Talk about that. Like what are these 3 products that you have? And the naming behind them is super catchy. Who's come up with it?
No, I think, that's on the lighter note. I tell the team or, the investor audience that after doing your MBA, you're an expert in using Google and getting inspired by, how to do your project sooner, right?
Yeah.
What better way to name a product than matching of containers.
Yeah.
Swipe left for a 20-feet container, swipe right for a 40-feet container. I've not been on the platform personally, but on a Tinder platform, but obviously on STinder is our matchback platform. So it's a very original name. It's a street turn finder, on a serious note. Street turn is the name for triangulation. It's a European term. So that's why we have the other product called Misty, which is a MatchLog integrated street turn yard. Again, original thinking. Street turn yard is a standard nomenclature. We just added the M and I in front and got it as a Misty. So we have STinder, we have Misty, and of course we have a TMS, which is our transport management system. We haven't been able to coin a name for it. It's just a functional name as of now, but hopefully we'll get inspired very soon to find a good name for that.
Yeah, very, very good. So there are actually three things I really, really like about your company and your model. I think the first one I mentioned, which is the simplicity of it, right? Like you're actually just eliminating wastage, and that leads to so many second order effects: carbon saving, cost saving, likely, more efficient, just cheaper option for your customer. Everybody benefits. The second one is your communications, your naming and your communications. I think it's really, really cool. And what we've learned is in the climate sustainability space, complex jargon does not work, right? You do something, you have to really simplify it, and naming it like things that people can relate with, pop culture, or simplifying it, right, is extremely essential. I think you guys have done that very, very, very effectively. And the third one is, of course, like the whole profit with purpose piece. That is a very, very nice model. Given that you're doing this, you've been at it for 6 years. Do you envision this becoming the default system for all shipping in the country and globally? Because I know you're going beyond India also now.
Ani, I rarely post on LinkedIn, and I put up a post yesterday on our collaboration with PIL, which is Pacific International Line. It's a big line based out of Singapore, and it's a recent client of ours. And that's something I really meant when I said that we will be the world's largest container reuse platform.
Wow.
I value my credibility a lot, and I stand by what I say and what I commit. This is out there in social media. It is a post which I put in, and we will get there. Why and how? Why am I confident about this? Today we are working with global shipping lines. We are talking to their headquarters and not to regional offices or local offices. They are respecting the concept and they are appreciating the concept because it's a global problem. This problem, like you said, has been there since the container came about.
Yeah.
And container came about in 1956. So it's been there forever.
Yeah.
And initially when we were talking to investors and to, colleagues who we wanted to get on board, they're like, Dhruv, what's the big deal? It's so simple. And I'm like, I agree. But has anyone done anything about it? They said no. And a lot of times people ask me, what is your strength? I said, we have the ability to execute it. And before that, we had the intention to sort out this problem. I think that's been a biggest moat for us.
That's really cool. Have you read the box?
Yes.
Yeah. I read it too, incredibly enough. And I love that book. Like, again, for the simplicity of it, how it made the global economy larger but the world smaller.
Wow,
right?
It's a nice one.
That is the tagline of the book too. And just by standardizing the size into 20 footers and 40 footers, it really changed the whole world, right? Which is incredible.
Yep.
And now I think you're applying on that simple box operations, research, and management science to a degree, which is just keep the container in motion, right? Keep it utilized and keep it in motion. Why is this not already the default globally? Because it seems like the obvious choice, right? So what is the friction stopping this from being the case? Because economically it's cheaper, carbon-wise it's cheaper. Carbon-wise, logistics is one of the biggest contributors to global emissions, 10 to 12% of global emissions. So this is such an obvious lever in decarbonization, and shipping lines and all are under a lot of fire to decarbonize. Whether it's with fuel, whether it's with improving efficiency operations-wise. Why is this not already the default? Is there some friction that exists in the space?
I think not. I think it's more let sleeping dogs lie. Why fix it when it's not broken kind of concept that, why make the effort when things are fine? It's about how when we used to use the regular cabs, say probably 15, 20 years ago, things were good, right? You get out from the airport, go prepay, and go. And why the Ubers and Olas of the world today? Someone wanted to bring about a change. I think that's what at MatchLog we realized that with the bench strength that we have as part of the founding team and the execution capabilities that we have, I said, why not? Let's kind of take it up. It's been a tough 6 years. Having said that, it's not been easy. Moments of doubt where you think that, is it going to see the light of the day, or have I utilized my 6 years of my peak professional career correctly? Optimally. I still have those questions, right?
Yes.
Is there an opportunity cost to what we're doing? But then at the end of the day, you say, you're doing something for the environment. Things are working out. It's taken time, but this is a B2B business, right? It takes time. You can't speeden up the process.
Yeah, good things take time for sure. And I think what you just mentioned, like questioning yourself and wondering, am I even on the right thing? Opportunity cost is high. Every founder faces that, right? Many, many times. It's not once and dusted. It's very, very many times.
True.
6-year journey for you. You had 3 co-founders in it as well. How is that personal journey side, man? Because I actually always like to bring that personal, founder journey element over here. These are long-term businesses. These are not like flash of the pan. You start a business 2 years and you flip it and sell it. It doesn't work that way. These are long gestation. So what is your method to stay in the game that long? As a founder, love to learn a little bit about your journey and your coping system.
No, I think, Ani, you mentioned it very, very clearly that it is a simple business, right? And that's the same philosophy I use in my personal life. I keep things very, very simple. I think humans have a tendency to complicate the simplest of things.
Yes.
And I think that on a personal level, so far I kept myself sane by keeping things very, very simple. It's right from the wardrobe I have. I have a t-shirt I'm wearing. I'll wash it tonight, I'll wear it again tomorrow. And I have a formal white shirt with a blue pant. That's my combination there. I have 3 white shirts and 3 blue pants, and that's what I do. So I don't use my bandwidth for anything else beyond that. I keep myself fit. I turned 44 this year in July. I work out 2 hours every single day. I meditate. I eat well. I sleep 8 hours. I don't have email on my phone. I have no social media on my phone. I don't have an Instagram account. So I've kept off the platforms away from my phone. I'm just active on LinkedIn for pure professional reasons. So I keep my mind clear. I keep it fresh and I keep it relevant. What is really important is what I invest my time in. And that's how I've been able to balance, the tough days where you question yourself as founders, how do you pay the next salary, or how do you pay off the next working capital cycle? How do you do the next fundraise? Why, how, when? I think if you have clarity of thought, which comes about by having a clean lifestyle, that's my personal thought pattern. I eat clean, I sleep well, I work out, and I keep happy. I think it's pissed off a lot of people, when I say that I'm content and I'm happy. I think that's a very, very deadly combination to have. Content doesn't mean I'm saturated. Content means I'm happy where I am. I'm still very, very aggressive at work. I'm still very aggressive with how the company needs to grow and could grow, but it's 2 different buckets for me.
Wow. That actually makes you unshakable. If you're content and happy, you can take on anything.
No, and see, Ani, just to add to that, I interviewed with EO recently.
Yeah.
It's like when you get into the circle, then some investors say, Dhruv, why don't you join? It'll be good for you guys, and stuff. So I interviewed with EO, and I had pretty similar answers to the questions which you asked, and they were like, we've never met someone like you, and the way you kind of are approaching the entire journey of life, and the basic thing is please introduce yourself, and I'm like, I'm Dhruv Taneja. I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy to have in your corner. They're like, wow. I said, because my identity is not my work. My identity is who I am as a person. It's not linked to founder of MatchLog or XYZ. And people who know me, period. I don't change because my company changes, right? If you get an IPO tomorrow in MatchLog, it's still Dhruv. So I think that for people was a very weird conversation in a way, but I think that's the way I look at it.
That's really cool. I remember reading this in Bezos's one of his books, his essays. every year he would write this essay to his shareholders and his entire
Yes,
team.
I think in the Amazon way probably. I think that's in
Yeah.
that book. I think, yeah.
And there's another one called Invent and Wonder.
Same
You
by
must.
Jeff itself.
Yeah, it's a collected set of his essays through the years.
What's it called?
Invent and Wonder. I read it every year, reread it. It's super, super, super helpful just to get clarity of thought. And one of the things he says is actually very similar to yours. In his essays, he says, this may not be the right way, but this is our way, right? I love that. Like, you have to be original to your own way of being, like true to yourself. The way you build MatchLog cannot be the way anybody else builds any other company, right? It's unique to who you are and who your co-founders are and who your team is.
I like the way you equated or had a conversation about Jeff. People look at me like, yeah, you are either Jeff Bezos or you're like Robin Sharma. Same lookalike, same same hairstyle. So I take that as a compliment.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, meditative, monk style, but like staying true to your.
I'm pretty sure I won't sell my Ferrari when that comes.
Nice. What about your team? You've been building for 6 years. How do you find great people who can stick with you playing the long game? And all this is very relevant to like this conversation because it's really about building long-term businesses that are profitable and sustainable, right? Environmentally sustainable. And I found that this is almost always the pattern with those companies who are building generational iconic businesses. You may be long-term, but how do you find people who are also missionaries driven by long-term, the ability to play long-term games?
If you have an answer for that, do let me know. But no, I think, see, we when we put together our core team, which is Manish Singh, Abhishek Baheti, Harsh Vardhan Gupta and me, today we don't have a binding founders agreement. We are together because we share the same vision and we have the same goal individually and as a team. We've been together for 6 years. This is 7th year. Things are good, and we are excited by the way we're building the company. Our attrition rate is in single digits. That's something which we take pride in. And the attrition is at the lower level. People who come in new, straight out of school or college and still figuring out themselves. So I don't take it as our attrition rate. It's more people figuring their journey out. But I think the core values that we have, like you said, we keep it simple. Our core values are defined by CUTE, C-U-T-E. It's collaboration, it's unbiased communication, it's trust, and ultimately it all leads to excellence. Simple, and if anyone coming on the team have these characteristics in there, it's a perfect fit.
Cute. Very, very nice. Fun acronym even for that. Everybody can remember it that way.
Yeah.
Right? You can be woken up in the middle of the night and be asked, what are our core values? And anyone will remember those.
How cute.
Yeah. No, really, really, really cool. I think I find this the most important part about building long-term businesses too, right? It's about who you show up to work with every day. You have to really, truly enjoy it. You have to have faith that, okay, like Reed Hastings, I think I'd said Netflix. Another one you should really read, No Rules.
Brilliant book. I really enjoyed that book.
Professional sports teams, right?
Not family. Yep.
You're not a family. You're a professional sports team, and then I'll respect you. You'll respect me for playing my sport on the field, and then you can have an off day, and that's totally fine. But you should be able to mostly show up as a professional sports player, right? We respect each other that way. I think the values and culture part is you can't like force fit it. It just has to come from within. It's
you see the values creeping into the organization when there are escalations at work and how the team handles it, because you can't be everywhere you can't be omnipresent in a way, and those show up, and you say, yeah, this guy is going to be here for the long haul because he understands what we're trying to build. It's like I said, you're a founder yourself. It's a long journey. It's a tough journey, but it's a very fulfilling one if you have the right people with you, and we're absolutely having a great time building the organization. And I just wanted to add, I think we are blessed because our cap table today has super investors.
Yes.
I mean, obviously we have a common investor.
Common investor in Rain Matter, yeah.
Yeah, and it's aren't they brilliant, right? I mean, Samir and Dinesh and team, they're just unbelievable.
Yeah. In fact, let's move into that, right? So the value of having, because it takes a lot to build a company like MatchLog. It's it's founders, it's long-term operators on the team, customers who can play the long game as well, plus phenomenal investors. What is your definition of that now? Because it's such a cluttered word, right? What even is an investor? Just someone with money? Capital is a commodity. What is the value of quality capital? With what you know now, what does it mean to actually have high quality capital and high quality investor in your cap table, and what is their role?
I think it's a very thought-provoking question. The answer keeps changing as we evolve as a company. We've raised 2 rounds so far, and I think today having quality investors, at least from a MatchLog perspective, is see, you've invested because you trust the business and you trust the founding team and the team running it. I would say leave it at that. You said, guys, you're from the industry, you've been doing it for a while, you build it up successfully, it's going to be profitable in a couple of months. We have 2 investors who says, Dhruv, if you need us, call us, we are here. Period. Anyone in our network, we know any common name pops up, just reach out to us. There are people who want to get into the operating part of it, fine, that's good. But I think people like Rain Matter, we have Blue Ashwa, we have Motion Ventures, who's from the industry. Among the other investors that we have, I think they've been phenomenal guys. I mean, we have VCAT and we have July Ventures as well, and we have Capital A. Capital A, Ankit is a very, very dear friend, and so that every investor brings their own value to the table, and we're enjoying the journey. Talking and communicating with all of them.
Yeah, because it's such a critical part of building long-term businesses too, right? It gets very, very cluttered. It becomes an aspiration or the goal itself for very many people, and I don't know. It's one part of the fuel you need, right? Tech, capital, and media; those 3 scale infinitely, right? As they say. And you're really in it for the long haul. And you're choosing an investor, you're getting into bed with them for the next 10 years minimum is what you expect, right? Yeah, I think the good ones need to be called out, and what they do right needs to actually be called out, because that is really valuable for people to know.
True.
Yeah. There's so many horror stories out there too, right?
Yeah, I'm glad so far we're not part of any.
Yes, same for us. We're very lucky that way. Every day I wake up in the morning and thank our stars. But the sum of it would be a good investor is more than just capital, right? And their job ideally is they've supported you, they're there to let you build as is and have faith in your good and bad decisions, right? And be there to help when needed.
I think well summarized. Very well summarized, Ani.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
No, definitely. I think there are few investors definitely who fit that mold. Yes. So what would your goals now looking forward be with MatchLog? Like, what would have made it worth your while? You talked about going global. You talked about this becoming a default system for the planet. But what would have made it worth your while? And like where you don't even question the opportunity cost, right? This ended up being the single best thing you could have done with your.
No, I think, Ani, to be the world's largest container reuse platform would make our time worthwhile. I speak on behalf of all of us at MatchLog for that. We are getting there. And reusing of containers or triangulation will be the new normal, one way or the other, in the next few years. And I would really wish that we are at the forefront of this change. And so far it looks like we are there, at least in this part of the world. And looking forward to the day where we speak again. I mean, obviously, we'll speak sooner also, but the day when we are the world's largest container reuse platform, I think that'll be a day where it'll be all worth it.
I'm sure you guys will get there. Profitably and sustainability.
Yes.
Right, for the planet. Do you feel like because of the decarbonization that you're leading to, ocean liners and shippers themselves are becoming more provoked to do more decarbonization efforts in their own value chain? Like, because of what you're like a first port of call, right? Showing them emissions, reducing emissions on reuse. But is that allowing them to focus on second and third tier decarbonization efforts in their own companies?
I think it is, Ani, because ocean liners are focused on decarbonizing the ocean side of it, green corridors of shipping and the like. On the land side, I think we are probably the pioneers or the initial ones who started measuring carbon emission and the avoidance. And we see tier one exporters or importers like IKEA and the likes who are very, very sensitive to this kind of data. They said, yes, we would like to work with organizations such as MatchLog or with people who are reusing containers because we can do a bit on the land side by assisting in carbon reduction.
Really, really cool. That number is big, 10 to 12% of global logistics. I mean, it accounts for 10 to 12% of carbon emissions. So I really feel like this can be that lever, one of the big levers that spurs mass market decarbonization efforts in the entire sector. Really, really rooting for you guys. I think your model is cool. The word to describe it is simple. I think simple is best. It's understandable, it scales, it's cost efficient, and yeah, I think you guys will definitely dominate and become the global standard. Looking forward to making that happen.
Thanks so much for that, Ani.
Lovely talking to you today as well, Dhruv. This has been really, really interesting conversation. Hope more businesses are provoked to become, people first, planet first, profit first, all three at the same time. Yeah, thank you for setting that example with MatchLog.
Our pleasure, Ani.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.